Hey guys, I am here with Jay Denton, whom I have had the pleasure of knowing for like...
Take that with a grain of salt.
For like a decade?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
about
for 10 years. Little bit about Jay. He is a Texas boy and grew up listening to James Taylor. And who was the other guy that you said that you really enjoyed?
Dad would play B.W. Stevenson.
B.W. Stevenson. I have no idea who that is, so I might...
B.W. Stevens.
Okay.
Fact check.
No. Clearly don't know who that is. But anyways, he grew up listening to music. His dad really got him into it and has been playing since you were how old?
I started playing the guitar when I was about maybe 10.
Okay. And started writing music when?
Probably when I was about 12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 12-year-old songwriter. That's awesome. But anyways, he is out here in Los Angeles, and he is the founder and creator and man behind Endure Music Studios. And we'll get into that in a minute, what the meaning behind all that is and everything. But first things first, what got you into songwriting?
What got me into songwriting? I think there's so many elements to songwriting. I mean, you got the music side, you got the lyrics side, you got the story side. And I think what really got me into it actually originally was not the music. It was wanting to write something with words.
So creating a story.
Mm-hmm.
So were you a poet? And you didn't know it?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of embarrassing. I was playing sports all the time growing up. But when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I would start writing these poems about baseball players. And I would write a poem about baseball. And that's how I started writing lyrics.
I think maybe you should write a song.
About baseball?
Maybe not. Maybe we'll just leave that one for your childhood.
I don't know if anyone would ever want to listen to that.
But would you say that maybe James Taylor and all those people inspired just even the way that you wrote? Or do you feel like you just kind of were on a whim and you just naturally were creative and you just fell into it? Or did you ever was there a moment of inspiration for you that you recall that was like, wow, I want to actually do this. I want to write music. I want to actually create this stuff, or did it just come naturally?
Yeah, so I think there was kind of the in-between. It was when I first started, I wasn't doing it to write songs or anything. It was just when I started thinking about writing, or when I started thinking about making music, I just hated playing other people's stuff. Yeah, I just didn't want to play other people's stuff. I was like, if I'm gonna learn 3 chords, I'm gonna write my own song with 3 chords instead of learn a song. Awesome. And all my friends at the time were all, if they were learning how to play the guitar, we're learning how to play different songs and everything. I had that a little bit with the electric guitar, but especially when I started playing the acoustic guitar, it was just wanted to write.
And what is your acoustic guitar of choice? This is not a plug. I just am curious.
Yeah, so my acoustic guitar choice, I mean, yeah, you kind of get your favorites over time that do different things. But my first guitar, I spent my entire life savings on it when I was about 15 years old. I got a Taylor 514 CE, and I've always loved that. Oh, it's still my go-to.
That's still your baby?
Still my go-to.
Still have it?
Yeah.
He or she?
Yeah, it's a she.
Okay, yeah, musicians usually have names and all that stuff. Okay, so you just decided that you just wanted to create your own stuff.
Yeah.
And when did you actually record your first song? Because you're also an artist.
Okay. So growing up in Texas, sure, there's a music industry in Texas, but most people, especially in Dallas, they don't think of music as this industry that you can potentially go into. I mean, we just assumed that everything you'd hear on the radio was a bunch of guys in the band that just got in a room and played, and that's exactly what you heard, right? So I had no concept for the music industry, no concept for the recording process, no concept for the writing to recording to mixing, master process at all. So the first recordings I did, me and 2 of my buddies in high school, we started a band for our high school talent shows called Lamppost Street Rendition.
What? I don't even know this.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I've known this guy for 10 years and I do not know this. This is hilarious.
I mean, we do about 2 performances a year. It was basically a school talent show and some other talent show.
I mean, you really went big for these talent shows that would go as far as creating a band around it.
Yeah, and we didn't have like songs as a band or anything. We would do that and we'd play like Dave Matthews, Green Day, Blink-182, some strange
So
mashup.
you did covers and stuff like that. So
yeah, we did. And we did that because we didn't have enough songs to fill a set.
Yeah, right.
So we would do that, and then we play like our 2 original songs, you know.
Better than nothing.
And that's what we did. So when I started recording is we just knew one guy with a microphone. That was it.
Yeah.
And so we'd go over to his house and we'd just sit there and make music on a microphone and didn't know a thing about what he was doing to record it in. And we were just like, let's stick the microphone in the room and sit around and play songs and record it. You know?
Oh my God. Yeah, MySpace days and all that stuff too.
So yeah, that was probably when I was like 16. No, probably 17. Probably 17 towards the end of high school.
And you almost were in the military.
Uh-huh.
And you decided to not accept that call because you felt more drawn to, was it music or what was it?
No, actually it wasn't music at the time. So I did a program called PLC Combined, which is officer training program with the Marine Corps up in Quantico, Virginia at OCS, Officer Candidate School. And so I did that. They allowed you to, if you were between your junior and senior year of college, you could go do this program but not have mandatory service. So you could do it and see if it was something you wanted to do. And I didn't know if I wanted to join the military, but I knew if I wanted to join the military, this was what I needed to do. And if I wasn't going to join the military, this was going to be the only opportunity I ever had for that kind of training.
Gotcha.
Which, I've got a little bit of masochism in me, or a lot of masochism in me. So I was like, well, hell yeah, I've got to do this. So I did that between my senior year of college, graduated that, got a commission offered to me, and then I had my senior year to decide if I'd accept it or not. And then what I was studying, I was an international relations major in college with a focus on genocide, humanitarian disasters, and global conflict, but specifically conflict in regions of the world where the global community would have trouble figuring out what do we do. So kind of it really, in the world of humanitarian disasters, it's different than just straight up warfare, because straight up warfare is in some ways easier to understand. But humanitarian disasters like the Rwandan genocide, anything like that, the whole world's trying to figure out what to do. They don't know. Mm-hmm. So I decided my senior year, I wanted to, all of the conflicts that I was interested in getting involved in were ones that the U.S. military wasn't involved in. And so I started emailing this guy named Sam Childers, who'd started fighting the LRA in Uganda, and started emailing him and saying, hey, I've got a commission offered to me from the Marine Corps, but I'd rather come and fight for you. And so that's kind of what kind of led me to end up saying no to the Marine Corps and going on and forging a different path.
Wow. Okay. And this is a great kind of period to explain that Jay is, yes, he's a singer, he's a writer, he's a producer, he has his own thing going, but there's an element to him that is so unique, and he's actually colliding the two, which is the beautiful thing about Endure Studios. He has a heart for justice and to create freedom for those that may otherwise not have the opportunity to be free or to be able to express themselves. And so, Jay, what you've done and what you're starting to do, and really just is a beautiful, unique thing, is I feel like you have music with a mission. And so you're using music, which is therapeutic to, all of us, everybody uses music. Whenever we feel any sort of feels, we are drawn to certain types of music in those moments. And that is a universal thing, right? So music is always going to be therapy. And I would love for you to talk about that process, because I met you when you were doing that. You had that little company that you were doing with like David and all that stuff. And it was all about helping, create justice in areas that desperately needed it. And then we actually wrote a bunch of stuff together. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how you went from growing up playing music. So obviously it was in you since you were a little boy, you loved music, you were drawn to it. You've always been super creative, but you're also very intelligent, and you also have a heart for justice. And it's so wild and awesome to see how you have somehow brought all of that together, and you're now creating Endure.
Yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit about the process of that. And I also would love for you to speak to those that are just like the people that are in Texas and they feel very similar even now, like where they're like, we don't know anything about recording. We don't know anything about how do we get our music out? How do we do any of that? I mean, these are two different topics, so we'll break them up. But the first thing that I want to talk to you about is how you're really implementing your heart for justice and bringing those that are in a world of suffering that we're not even aware of, how you're actually giving them a voice. I want you to talk about that.
Okay.
First. So tell us about that.
So this kind of vision for what I've started building with Endure Studios was really born. I went to South Sudan with this guy named Sam Childers, who really amazing man. He's done some amazing things in what was formerly just Sudan, Southern Sudan, and now South Sudan in terms of fighting the LRA. He started an orphanage for kids who had been affected by the conflict with the LRA, or he had even been child soldiers themselves, and he pulled them out of the LRA and bring them to this orphanage. And so he's done some great work. He was a guy I wanted to go and fight with. And then I ended up going to South Sudan with him. I'd been back and forth between Nashville, where I was at the time, in Pennsylvania, talking to him about working with him. And then I went on a trip to South Sudan, but the war was done. So I got there and I was kind of interested in talking about, okay, well, let's figure out what I need to do to come over here and start fighting with you. And the war was done. So we were kind of chilling at this orphanage. And as I was doing that, I brought a guitar. And so I started doing a lot of music stuff with the kids. And that was far more impactful than the stuff I was capable of as a fighter. And so I wrote a little project there, came back to Nashville and recorded this kind of dinky little 3-song project called the Nimile Project, released that, and then released another song that I wrote specifically about some stuff that was going on in South Sudan. And all of a sudden my, Facebook, which was the main thing at the time, my Facebook started blowing up with people from that area, from South Sudan, from East Africa, that had been hearing this project and had felt a sense of hope from it. And so I just kind of got the sense of, okay, I went here to fight. There wasn't a fight for me to have, so I started doing music, and then the music I was doing was being more impactful than me just going over there with the gun. And so anyways, that kind of birthed this idea. And do you want to hear about this project I've been working on this past year?
I mean, absolutely. I definitely want to hear about that.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on what you were just saying. So basically, like, you went there and you were there to like fight, but you did end up fighting, but in a different way than you even realized. And I think that that's one thing that I really just want to call out in you, that I think is a beautiful thing. And I think that anybody who's a writer and who is passionate about music, like, we do have a responsibility within all of that, and we may not even realize that in the moment, but you ended up fighting for people's hope and for like the souls of humanity, even if there wasn't necessarily a physical fight. And so there's so much beauty in music, and music is so important, and so just want to thank you for doing that, and also just kind of say that out to those that are, there's so many songwriters that are a part of American Songwriter, and so many people that are musicians and artists and creatives, and recognizing, like, it's fun and it's artistic and it's creative, but it's also very important,
Yeah, it's really powerful. I think sometimes we underestimate. I mean, we make these songs because we love to make music or love to write songs, but it's amazing how much we can underestimate the power of music in people's lives. Not just in our own lives when we listen to music and are able to get through something in our lives because of the music we've listened to, or it's something that helps us through that process, but it's incredibly impactful culturally, and it's incredibly impactful cross-culturally. And so, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned through this process, and it's really kind of fueled me to keep doing it and do it at a higher and higher level.
And that's what you're doing right now with that whole, how you said it, even like culturally, yes, but also cross-culturally, you're bridging the gap now. That's the best way that I visualize it. I visualize you like literally building a bridge for those that, are, that may feel or are just really are oppressed and suffering and feel like they don't have a voice. And so I want to hear about the project that you just did in Lebanon, and tell us about like what what that is and what you're doing with that and what you have coming up within that.
Yeah, so in 2019, last year, I went back and forth between Los Angeles and Lebanon twice. I was back there at the beginning of the year, like January, February, and then I went back July, August for a period of time there. And I went there, really, I'd been in Lebanon a few years before that, doing work in a different of a different kind. And but I'd met some really, really amazing people in the refugee community, and I met some really great people that were in the refugee outreach community. And I met one guy who's really primarily a video producer out there, but he walked me through. He has a recording studio that sometimes they'll use for music, but most of the time they're using for voiceover stuff. But when I saw that, I kind of had this idea in the back of my head of, I'd love to come back here and do a recording project. And so at the time, my career had started to kind of build out my career here in Los Angeles. But I kind of got this idea of what if I made a record there, but instead of doing it like I'd done years before with this Nimlite project where I just wrote these songs and recorded them, I was like, what if I write songs with some of the people there, with the singers or songwriters that have been affected by the war in their region and that have had to leave their country and are currently refugees in Lebanon. What if I were to write a project where I'd write songs with them, start to kind of capture some of their story, some of their voice, and some of their talent, right? And then come back and work with, their sound. And then come back to the US and do this very strange project that would be a mixture of languages, a mixture of musical styles, some artists from Syria. I've got one artist from Iraq, and then artists from the US, and kind of create this cross-cultural bridge that hopefully will give a platform for some of the stories of these people to be told, and for some of the rest of the world to hear some of the talent that they have, some of the story that they have, and to just really benefit from seeing some of the strength that they've gained through walking through years of hardship, and find a platform for those stories.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I'm sure that you can even just feel it when they're singing, and when you're creating with them and everything. I'm sure that there was just what we were talking about earlier when we weren't on camera, just about the beauty in the raw projects, when it's just you're just in the moment and you're feeling something and you're creating something that's real. And so I'm sure that translates so beautifully and in a way that even if it's in a different language or something, if there's, if you end up coming out with songs that we may not understand, we're still going to understand it. Yeah.
Oh, and one of the coolest moments was when I was in Beirut, and I had met with this one artist that had been a friend of some of the other singers that I've been working with. They told me about her, showed me a little video of her singing. She had a beautiful voice, amazing voice. So she came in, took a half-day bus ride to come into Beirut to work right with us one day and to record. And towards the end of the day, I just had her. I felt like she had something to say or something to express. And so I literally just built a real bare minimum track with just sort of a pad and a little bit of a drum beat, and just told her to just sing. Saying not worry if it was words, not worry what. And she doesn't speak much English at all, and so I can speak a little bit of Arabic, so you can get a little of this across, but not very much. Arabic's pretty terrible. They make fun of me all the time. But so I started playing this track and just had her sing, and she just started singing about her hometown that had gotten bombed, and she was volunteering at a hospital. And so when her hometown had gotten bombed and gotten shelled, she was in the hospitals. They're just bringing in people that and she would show some pictures, show some video, very moving. But she just started singing. She got this beautiful voice, very almost cinematic style voice, and she was just singing. And all of us in the room, one by one, we just all started tearing up. Yeah. Wow. And I couldn't understand most of what she was saying. Actually, I couldn't understand any of what she was saying because she was singing in Kurdish.
But you could understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could understand the story without understanding the words.
That's the beauty of music. Yeah, that's so amazing. So how can people hear this?
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited about this record. This record, it's going to be called For Home in English as well as Arabic. And I'm going to start releasing, it's going to be a 20-track project. So it's a long album.
That's a lot of work.
15 songs and then 5 kind of musical interludes. I've got a musical intro, outro, an interlude, another song that's almost really soundtrack style. And so I'm going to release it in 3 chapters.
That's
and
awesome.
The first chapter is going to be released at the end of February. It's going to be available everywhere, digitally, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, just the whole digital network. And then I'll release chapter 2 a month later and chapter 3 with the full record a month later.
Awesome.
Most likely in April.
Okay. That's great. And you are already planning another trip.
Yes.
Where are you going now?
Yes. So when I've finished with this Lebanon project and release it, the goal right now is to go to Bogota, Colombia, later in the year and start a project with Venezuelans who've been affected by the conflict in Venezuela last year.
That's amazing. So are you going to try and do like one a year?
Yeah,
with
that's
this?
the goal.
That's the goal, is one
That's
a
the
year.
goal.
Okay.
Yep.
So to all of these aspiring songwriters and artists and creatives out there, being from just Texas, Dallas, you were from Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big town, it's a big city, but like a big city in Texas to Los Angeles to Nashville to LA to Lebanon to Colombia. It's all these places. What would you say, because I feel like a lot of times songwriters and musicians, they feel kind of stuck with their stuff. You know, they feel like they have something to say. They have music to be written. They've written music. They have it, but they don't really know what to do with it. And I know that you've been in that position before. I've definitely been in that position before. There are so many people. What would you say, what advice would you give them from, I mean, it's trial and error, right? Like we've had our ups and our downs and our successes and our failures. But what are a couple of things that you have learned that you could give as just like a gift to those people that are really trying to go after this thing? I mean, I think you and I both agree, War of Art, that book that talks about the difference between an amateur and a professional as they show up to work every day. And that's something that I commend you in, is you show up and you do this every day. I think that that's a great piece of advice to give to people. I wish I would have taken that advice of myself in some areas of my life, but it's never too late. But that's a good piece of advice, I feel like. But what would you offer? What do you have to offer to those people? So
I think the tools that are available now, just to be able to learn how to especially record music, are better than they've ever been in history. When I started recording music, I started with this 4-track recorder, and it wasn't connected to a computer. I couldn't turn it into an MP3. I couldn't do any of these things. But what you can do now is if you have a computer, if you have a laptop, not even a laptop, if you just have any computer and you get a microphone, you can start to record music, and you can watch YouTube videos all day long to learn how to do it better. And the big thing is this: I think most people, they look at the music industry as, I'm going to work on something. A lot of times you're going to put a ton of time, a ton of investment into it, and they think of that as their shot, right? I'm going to make this project. This is my shot. If it goes well, great. I've got a career. Maybe I get a record deal. Maybe I get a publishing deal. Maybe I get on a singing show of some kind. But then what happens is you put all that time into that project, and if it doesn't go, then you either quit or you think, oh, okay, I gotta spend a ton of time and more money to try to build the next project that's then gonna be my shot. If you just think about making stuff and making it regularly, consistently, and at first everything you make is gonna suck. It's gonna suck.
Ooh, I know that.
I seriously, this is the biggest one. If I have one word of advice, I'd say, the more willing you are to suck at something, the better you will become at it.
That's good.
Because the only way to avoid being terrible at something is to never do it.
Yeah. Because you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. Make it. What started to open big doors for me and opportunities for me in my career is when I started producing as well. And at first I didn't know what I was doing producing. I was really a top line songwriter. But as I started learning how to produce, it would be like, oh, okay, first I'm just doing demos. But even then it was better because whenever I'd write a song, I could actually get recording of it.
But when you say you started to learn how to produce, did you literally just buy like a, I don't even know what you call it.
Yeah,
a program. And
I bought a microphone, an interface that my brother-in-law gave me from a music project he made a long time ago. Just a really cheap interface, a really cheap microphone, and I got Logic on my laptop.
Okay.
So all that combined was maybe like $350, $400, and then you build from there.
Yep.
And then as a producer, you know that music equipment is this massive money. Like you can,
it's a whole,
yeah. But the key is, I mean, when you get just the basic stuff, you can actually start to make music, and you can make music not just as a pitch of, I hope someone can hear this and then give me a record deal to make the record for real. You can start making stuff, and as you get better and better at it, the stuff that you make can be used.
Yeah.
And it's all about taking those little steps and building off.
That's awesome. So invest in time.
Yeah.
And in
a
little bit of products that you can. That's. And
then watch YouTube.
And
watch
seriously.
YouTube. Literally, I've been producing for a few years now, and some of my stuff's starting to do some things. But even still, if I run into a problem or I'm trying to figure out a way to get this sound, can't get it quite right, or I need to figure out a better way to mic a cello or mic a violin. I still will jump on YouTube, type in the specific thing I'm trying to figure out how to do, and watch things that'll always help. Awesome. If you're always learning, you're always growing. If the next day you're just making something that's a little better than the day before, you can actually build a career with this.
That's great. And now to the point of where you actually have your own Endure Studios, right?
Yep.
And the meaning behind the name?
I tagged on to Endure. Really, when I first graduated college, I declined my commission to the Marine Corps, and then I went over and worked in India for several months, and then in East Africa, and developed this concept of trying to create something that will last, that will stand the test of time, and to take the mantra of, if you can push through something difficult, you can accomplish and achieve something beautiful.
I love that. So I think we've learned a little bit about you, but now I have a couple of just personal questions to ask about Jay Denton. Who is Jay Denton?
I do not recommend personal questions. This could go downhill real fast.
It's going to be fine. Dream collaboration.
Oh, that's a really good question.
And that could change in a week. But if I asked him, I'm asking you right in this moment. So this moment, if you had to pick a dream collaboration.
This moment, if I picked a dream collaboration, it'd be with Ryan Tedder.
All right. Awesome, Ryan.
Ryan Tedder. Lead singer of Wonder Public.
He's up to some really cool stuff.
Amazing writer producer. Yeah.
Favorite meal of all time?
It just has to be steak. I apologize to all the vegans out there. It has to be steak.
Just literally a plate of steak?
Oh, steak.
Do you want potatoes with it or anything?
You get the baked potato. Yeah, just all of the meat. If there's bacon on it, it's even better.
Okay, so a bacon wrapped fillet with potatoes.
It's perfect.
You're welcome. I just made it for you.
Done.
Weirdest quirk.
Yeah.
You're like, how much time you got? Okay, one of your weirdest quirks, because you are weird.
You might know the answers to this better than I do. Weirdest quirk.
Yeah, you're being exploited right now.
I don't know if this is just unique to me, but I do talk to myself a lot.
If
I'm trying, out loud. If I'm trying to solve a problem, I will literally out loud talk myself through the process.
That's great. Do you look in the mirror and also do that?
No, not in the mirror.
You're not a self-validation, not the Jessica validation journal.
No. I don't want to see myself talking to myself. I want to pretend it never happens, but I still do it. That's a quirk. Also, for me, I don't know if this is a quirk, but it's just the way I clear my head. If I get overwhelmed with stuff, I'll take a ride and get out of here and go up to the hills or something.
That's not a weird quirk. That's a coping mechanism. Okay. Going on a long drive.
Okay.
So when you're in Nashville, because you lived in Nashville for quite some time, but now you're here in Los Angeles, where's a place that you have to go to every time you visit Nashville? Like you're just like, I will make it happen.
Okay.
It could be a coffee shop. It could be a place to
Definitely
listen to
Frothy
music.
Monkey.
Frothy Monkey.
Always at Frothy Monkey. Yeah, it used to would have been the Bluebird Cafe, and so the word got out on the Bluebird Cafe, and the lines are so long and everything. But it's an incredible place. Really, really incredible place to hear songwriters and hear the stories behind them. Now, I'll go if not to something like the Bluebird, I'll go to the listening room. Really like the listening room.
Awesome.
In Nashville, it's to me, it's all about going to songwriter rounds.
Awesome.
And getting to hear songwriters sing their songs and also give a little bit of the story behind it.
Yeah. Cool. And if you had to write a memoir, what would the title of your memoir be?
Oh, Lord.
He had no idea I was going to be doing this. This is the fun stuff.
The title of the memoir. What could possibly go wrong? I think that's it.
See, there you go. I'm
What could go
helping
wrong?
you. You're going to write a book, and then you're going to be like, gosh, Jess made me think about all of these things.
I think that would be it. What could go wrong?
And what do you look for in a girl? What's a non-negotiable in a girl?
A non-negotiable
Not just
girl?
one. You don't need to go into like a whole detail.
Okay,
Just
a non-negotiable girl
non-negotiable.
is a free spirit.
Okay.
Free spirit.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, 100%
How do you like your coffee?
black,
Just black.
straight.
But you're not having
And as
coffee.
dark of a roast as possible. I want my coffee to taste like it was just burned over a fire.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, so the entire hipster movement has been lost on me.
Yeah,
The light
for
roast and everything. I want the dark burned coffee.
For sure.
Mhm.
And one last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
That's a very good question. I think ultimately there'd be a couple things. I mean, I think I kind of have built it into the branding of my studio. I think I want to be remembered for building something and finding stories that will last and that can change people's hearts and change the world. And I want to be remembered for someone that can build bridges between people that have completely different backgrounds, completely different belief systems, but they can come together and really understand each other through really with what I'm doing now through the bridge of music.
I love that.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been this has selfishly been a joy for me. This has been amazing to sit with you.
Yeah.
Talk to you about everything that you're up to. Jay Denton, y'all can find him. Do you have like a Spotify with your own stuff too? Because he also has his own. I mean, we could literally talk for hours, but Jay Denton, will that be what the project is under as well?
No, so this project, the Lebanon project, is going to be a whole new branding. It's just going to be Endure Studios.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
What's gonna
So
be under
follow
for.
Endure Studios to keep tabs on everything that he's doing about bridging the gap and using music, having music be a mission. It's a really beautiful thing. Jay, thanks for sitting and talking with American Songwriter.
Absolutely.
We support you, and also people can find you on UN, right? Didn't United Nations do something? Can't they just like...
Yeah, the United Nations, I talked to them about the project I was doing. They thought it was really interesting, and then they heard a song I'd worked on with Sozda, one of the singers that I was talking about earlier. He's got this beautiful voice from Afrin, Syria, and they heard one of those songs. And they're like, okay, we have to go see this. So they came out, sent a film crew out, and they did a story and an article for the United Nations website about the project.
So they could find that on United. Is it UnitedNations.com?
UNHCR. UNHCR.org.
.org. Yep. So he's all over the place. Keep your eyes peeled. Jay's going to be doing amazing things. You're going to be hearing a lot from him. And thanks again, Jay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.